It's Ketchup Packets.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nate.
I'm Sean.
I'm Lewis.
And this is Ketchup Packets. Today we are watching the final episode of Chernobyl called...
You gotta try.
Vichnaya.
Oh, come on, man.
Help me out. What's it called?
Vichnaya, Pamyat, I think. I don't speak the language either, but I mean, you chose a very unfortunate pronunciation for that word. Oh, boy. Well, so far, our tone is off to a great start.
Yes. This is very semi-topical right now.
It is.
There's some bad stuff happening in the world kicked off by the current Russian government. It's not good, but we stand with Ukraine, and we are proud to say that.
Want to just put that out there first before we get into the episode. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very timely time to be watching this. So what happened last time? We had
They had to take care of all the dogs in the area.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
man.
That was pretty horrible.
Yep.
Yeah. And they cleared off the roof. They were clearing off the
One
roof.
person at a time. Like, what is it? Like
90-second shifts.
90-second shifts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got it done.
They did. Yep.
And then at the end, we had the conversation about them sort of like figuring out what the deal is with the reactors and deciding whether or not they're going to go public with that info.
Yeah, because they're supposed to present in
Minsk, I think, or
Minsk, or I thought it was somewhere. I want to say I thought it was somewhere in Switzerland, like Geneva or something.
yeah, that might be it. I can't remember.
But some sort of international forum about presenting about the incident.
Right. Yeah, I think Minsk is where her character is from. So that's why I thought of that city. So yeah.
I spent the entire series assuming that it wasn't the plant operator's fault, but it sounds like it kind of was.
Well, I mean, not entirely. It seems. I mean, I don't know how much I should say because I've seen this last episode, so I can't quite remember. What they've implied and not. But it's a complicated chain of responsibility. It's a systemic failure.
Yeah. That they're saying that like what the plant operators weren't operating. They were operating on the edge of what they thought the safety the safe range was, but the safe range was actually a tighter circle.
Got it. Yeah.
So
they didn't they were doing things sloppily and maybe dangerously, but they did not know that this was in the possible range of bad outcomes.
Yeah.
So yeah. But should we check out this final episode? I think it's a little bit longer, so
Yeah,
get into it.
Let's jump in. Guys, we do have a Patreon. Link down in the description. Go check it out if you feel like it. If not, no worries. Thanks so much for being here, and let's hit it.
All right.
Oh, so sad.
yeah.
So I'm assuming some time has passed.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Here's Dyatlov.
this is the morning of the incident.
oh.
This is
I was gonna
this is
say,
everyone
there should
involved
not be
beforehand.
anybody here.
No, it's everyone involved. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I hope that wasn't a spoiler to say right before the text came on the screen, but
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
We'll maintain at 1600. I'll go home, get some sleep, come back tonight. We'll proceed then. I'll personally supervise the test, and it will be completed. I'm not waiting around. Call me when it's done.
no, you'll be called when it's done.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's everybody under institutional pressure, everybody trying to get promoted.
Yeah.
The world is shaped by incentives.
You gave us assurances. The reactors would be made safe. It's been months. No changes have been made. No changes even discussed.
First, the trial. Once it's over, we will have our villains, we will have our hero, we will have our truth. After that, we can deal with the reactors.
That really sounds like a first give me everything I want from you, and then we'll talk about what you
think
want.
about doing the thing. It's always interesting to me, like, the level of... It's sort of like a lack of cognitive dissonance. It's like, we're lying, and we know we're lying, but we're going to lie anyway. Everybody think that that's the truth, and it's not the truth, but no, they don't even try to kid themselves.
But if we stick to it hard enough, it becomes like everyone is forced to deal with it as though it's the truth, is sort of their position.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous mode of operating because it seems like it's effective.
It's very 1984, just sort of this, like, you know it's not real, but you're gonna believe it anyway.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's not good.
I can relate, Legasov.
Same reason?
No. There's got to be a slight irony intended on the filmmaker's part, too, that he's, like, smoking a cigarette, you know, willingly doing damage to his body.
The state will never willingly fix the reactors because acknowledging the problem means admitting that they lied. They will have to be forced.
Yeah.
At the trial, you're going to tell the truth.
It's like,
You're going to convince the jury.
it will be murdered.
I'd like to think that if I spoke out, it would be enough. But I know how the world works.
They will shoot me. Khomyuk.
Yeah, easy for you to say
Yeah, right.
that I should do this.
I went willingly to an open reactor. So I've already given my life. Isn't that enough?
No, I'm sorry, but it is not.
Then you do it then.
Well, but she doesn't have his clout.
No, but...
The state calls witnesses Comrade Khomyuk of the Belarusian Nuclear Institute, Comrade Legasov of the Kurchatov Institute of Atomic Energy, and Comrade Boris Yevdokimovich Sherbina, Deputy Chairman of the Council of Ministers and Head of the Bureau for Fuel and Energy.
That look on his face was like, I did a pretty good job.
I think Sherbina has the most interesting arc of any of the characters. The way that he started as, like, a party man through and through and sort of just got disillusioned by the process of all this.
Right.
A nuclear reactor generates heat in the core here. A series of pumps here and here send a constant flow of cooling water through the core. The core's heat turns the water to steam, and the steam spins the turbine here, and the result is electricity. But what if a power plant has no power?
So crazy that even our most advanced power generation technology is just about making steam.
Heat up water.
Yep.
If the facility lost power, the turbine, which had been spinning, would take some time to slow down and stop. What if you could take the electricity it was still generating and transfer it to the pumps? What if the dying turbine could keep the pumps working long enough to bridge the 66 gap until the generators came on? Any questions?
No.
It's a real good device for explaining.
Yeah.
Test this theory. The first time they tried, they failed. The second time they tried, they failed. The third time they tried, they failed. The fourth time they tried was April 26, 1986.
That was a huge failure.
Yeah.
It really failed that time.
Critical fail, I believe is the term.
I like that there was some, like, model maker whose job it was to put that thing together for his 15
whatever.
minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like 3 minutes.
Where's Homer Simpson?
It looks like an old 60s Star Trek like set.
Yeah.
I have to do something I've never done before with Dyatlov looking over my shoulder.
Oh, don't worry. We'll do it together. Just look at the instructions now.
Are we supposed to do those or not?
Yes, in the program there's instructions of what to do, and then, well, there's a lot of things crossed out. What should I? Well, what should I? Are you sure? Right. Thank you. He says to follow the crossed out instructions.
So then why are they crossed out?
Good question.
Yeah.
One thing you want when operating a nuclear reactor is a lot of doubt in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be real vague.
Unclear instructions, yeah.
Is it too much to ask that you all know what you're doing?
Well, yes, absolutely.
Stelyachuk?
Yes.
Kirschenbaum?
I haven't reviewed. We only just found out
There, review it. Or you can just do what I tell you. I think even
Gordon Ramsay now?
You are can manage that. Well, let's go.
Don't besmirch Gordon Ramsay like that.
I like Gordon Ramsay.
This plutonium is shit!
still running. This is not good.
Shut the fuck up and
There you
do
go,
your
Gordon
job.
Ramsay.
Yeah, that did sound like him, it's true.
The night shift had not been trained to perform the experiment. They hadn't even been warned it was happening. Leonid Topchanov, the operator responsible for controlling and stabilizing the reactor that night, was all of 25 years old. And his total experience on the job, 4 months.
Wow.
But inside the reactor core, in the space between the atoms themselves, something far more dangerous is forming. A poison. The time is 28 past midnight.
There's a great theatricality to the
Yeah.
breaking points in this presentation. They hired some theater kids to help them write this, clearly.
Okay.
I know those guys are responsible for this and they deserve it, but it's still got to be so psychologically stressful to sit there and watch people give like a very well-formed presentation about how badly you screwed up.
Fuel increases reactivity. Control rods and water reduce it. Steam increases it. The rise in temperature reduces it. This is the invisible dance that powers entire cities without smoke or flame. And it is beautiful when things are normal.
It was pretty cool.
As uranium splits apart, when the core is running at full power, it burns the xenon away before it can cause a problem. But because of the delay, Chernobyl Reactor 4 has been held at half power for 10 hours. The xenon did not burn away. If you can't understand how a stalled nuclear reactor could lead to an explosion, I don't blame you. After all, you don't work in the control room of a nuclear power plant. But as it turned out, the men who didn't understand it either.
Good. Like that.
You should have finished by now.
We're following protocol for reduction rate.
You're procrastinating. There are 10 other men in this plant would have done it already. Keep working, you're doing fine.
I don't think that commentary is helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of seems less constructive.
I think he's externalizing his own stress.
Come get me when these old women are ready.
Yes, Comrade Dyatlov.
Like Gordon Ramsay.
He had 3 years to get this done.
Mm-hmm. Procrastinating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very slow now. Let's ease it down to 700. Whoa, slow.
I didn't move any rods there.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Guys, I think something bad is going to happen.
Go have a smoke, Dyatlov. That's a good idea.
Right.
Yeah.
If we turn off LAC, it may be possible to get more control.
Do it, go.
Right, switch off local automatic control. Go to global. Leonid.
LAC disabled, global control activated.
I apologize, but what you're saying makes no sense.
Raise the power.
No. I won't do it. It isn't safe.
25 years. That's how long I've done this job. 25 years. Is that longer than you, Akimov?
Yes.
Is it much longer?
Yes.
And you with your mother's tit barely out your mouth? See, if I say it's safe, it's safe, and if the two of you disagree, then you don't have to work here, and you won't. But not just here, you won't work at Kursk, or Ignalina, or Leningrad, or Novоворonezh, you won't work anywhere ever again. I'll see to it. I think you know I will see to it.
That's gonna happen anyway, isn't it?
Raise the power.
Yeah.
I would like you to record your command.
Raise the power.
Mutiny.
They don't understand the stakes, and he's pressuring them extremely hard. And
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
easy in hindsight to say mutiny, but
this guy was doing the right thing up until he gave up on having to write it down. Cause fuck,
yeah,
that's.
I wasn't even there.
What?
I wasn't in the room when they raised the power.
If you weren't there, then where were you?
Comrade Legasov, you are a witness, not a prosecutor. I will ask the questions here. If you weren't in the room, then where were you?
Court is now on recess, 30 minutes.
You know, none of this would have happened if he hadn't have told that dude that he would get the test done no matter what. Never promise anyone anything, because this is what happens. The nuclear plants melt down.
That's right.
Yep.
Under-deliver.
Yep.
Always.
Yeah. Under-promise and over-deliver.
Under-promise and under-deliver.
Yeah, there we go.
It was mostly Jews and Poles. The Jews were killed in pogroms, and Stalin forced the Poles out. And then the Nazis came and killed whoever was left.
Sheesh.
After the war, people came to live here anyway. They knew the ground under their feet, soaked in blood, but they didn't care. Dead Jews, dead Poles, but not them.
It's kind of true everywhere in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a theme. Going to happen to them. Do you remember that morning when I first called you? How unconcerned I was. I don't believe much that comes out of the Kremlin, but when they told me they were putting me in charge of the cleanup, and they said it wasn't serious, I believed them. You know why?
Because they put you in charge.
I'm an inconsequential man, Valera. That's all I've ever been. I hoped that one day I would matter, but I didn't.
Of all the ministers and all the deputies, the entire congregation of obedient fools, they mistakenly sent the one good man. For God's sakes, Boris. You were the one who mattered most.
A lot of good it did you.
But he did a lot of good himself, though. It was a sacrifice on his behalf, but I think that's absolutely true that Sherpina was a hero.
Yeah. Just saying, no good deed goes unpunished.
No, definitely not.
So
But I love what an unlikely hero he is in this situation.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I wonder if they had a caterpillar lined up for that scene, or if they happened upon a caterpillar and used it.
You know,
It's
my understanding is that, I think that there's, that animal handling rules for movies and shows apply to everything, even stuff like that.
Really?
I think that you can't, because I'm pretty sure you can't do fishing in a movie by really impaling a worm. It's against the rules.
Oh, really?
The xenon poisoning is so strong, the best they can do is raise the power to 200 megawatts. The control rods are out, the emergency system has been disconnected, The only thing keeping the reactor in check is water and xenon. It's 1 in the morning. The test is minutes away.
Yeah, when you lay it all out like that, sounds pretty dumb.
Sure, we have barely enough steam as it is. The turbine is going too slow for the test to deliver any valid results. And if we add more water, there will be even
I
less...
said it's enough. I know what I'm doing. Stelyachuk.
Do you, though?
Yeah, seem like you don't.
We should stop.
Turn that fucking thing off. You have 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
As best you can is not a phrase that should be uttered in a nuclear power plant.
Yeah. Based on the absence of sufficient control rods, the computer is recommending that the reactor be shut down.
Well, of course it's saying that. It doesn't know we're running a test. All right, comrades. Another few minutes, it'll all be over. Kirschenbaum, when you're ready.
Did everything right.
Like that guy's catchphrase.
Yeah.
The pumps stop moving water through the reactor. Uranium fuel is now unchecked by fresh coolant, unchecked by control rods. The balance immediately swings in the opposite direction. In less than a second, reactivity increases. Inside the core, the remaining water is quickly converting to steam. A void is being created. There is no fresh water to replace it. Steam increases reactivity, increases heat, increases steam, increases reactivity.
Boom.
The remaining xenon decays away. The power is rising. There's nothing left to stop it. 1:23 and 35 seconds.
We have a power surge, Sasha.
You press AZ5, all of the control rods insert at once, and the reaction is stopped, dead. But
What are you
Say
waiting
it.
for, Legasov? Tell your lies.
Comrade Dyatlov, you will not be warned again.
Or what? For God's sake, Legasov's
Good
already
question.
given it away. He said before.
Comrade Dyatlov.
What are you gonna do, kill me?
at 1:23:40, Akimov engages AZ5. The fully withdrawn control rods begin moving back into the reactor. These rods are made of boron, which reduces reactivity, but not the tips. The tips are made of graphite, which accelerates reactivity.
Why?
It's a good question. Lots of good questions being asked right
Same
now.
reason our reactors do not have containment buildings around them, like those in the West. For the same reason, we don't use properly enriched fuel in our cores. For the same reason, we are the only nation that builds water-cooled, graphite-moderated reactors with a positive void coefficient. It's cheaper.
A little below the belt. It's great.
The first part of the rods that enter the core are the graphite tips, and when they do, the reaction in the core, which had been rising, skyrockets. Every last molecule of liquid water instantly converts to steam, which expands and ruptures a series of fuel rod channels. The control rods in those channels can move no further. The graphite tips are fixed in position, endlessly accelerating the reaction. Perevoschenko looks down on the enormous steel lid of the reactor and sees the impossible. The control rod and fuel channel caps, which each weigh 350 kilograms, are jumping up and down. He runs to warn the control room, but there's nothing he can do to stop what is coming. 1:23 and 44 seconds.
Oh my god.
We do not know how high the power went. We only know the final reading. Reactor 4, designed to operate at 3,200 megawatts, went beyond 33,000. 1:23:45. explosion.
Jeez.
In the instant the lid is thrown off the reactor, oxygen rushes in. It combines with hydrogen and superheated graphite. The chain of disaster is now complete.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew this was gonna happen, but it's still really crazy to think about, to like watch all the little events happen.
Yeah.
Well, and to think about what it was like in that moment there,
Yeah.
you know, it's like this happened. It was.
Did somebody hear something? You know? Yeah, I wonder how loud that was inside the control room.
Honestly, it might have been like an auditory phenomenon that's so loud that you don't even register you heard a sound.
Mm-hmm.
It's more just like your audio it clips in your head, kind of.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Yep.
Every lie we tell incurs a debt to the truth. Sooner or later, that debt is paid. That is how an RBMK reactor core explodes. Lies.
And now he's a dead man.
Oh, yeah.
I
all
mean,
it takes.
do you remember the first scene of the
Yep.
show, Nate?
Yes. Everyone in the crowd's like, there's no way that he just did that. There's no way that he just said that.
There's a couple of guys, whatever their position is on the sidelines, who are just like,
Yeah. I wonder if people in there are worrying for their own safety for having heard it.
Yep,
you know?
exactly. It's like you just endangered everybody involved.
yeah. And
I mean, not necessarily their safety either, but they could all have their credibility destroyed,
Yep.
so people won't listen if they try to
Mhm.
talk about it. You know, I would certainly worry if I were them.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't want to see this guy at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a just world, I'd be shot for my lies, but not for this, not for the truth.
Scientist. And your idiot obsession with reasons. When the bullet hits your skull, what will it matter? Why?
Your logic is flawed, but
Well, clashing worldviews, you know.
yeah.
He's a consequentialist.
Yeah, I guess so.
You will remain so immaterial to the world around you that when you finally do die, it will be exceedingly hard to know that you ever lived at all.
If I refuse,
What are you gonna do?
Why
Kill
worry
me?
about something that isn't going to happen?
why worry about something that isn't going to happen? Oh, that's perfect. They should put that on our money.
What a great summary of this entire problem, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Why worry about something that isn't going to happen?
We are so focused on our search for truth, we fail to consider how few actually want us to find it. But it is always there, whether we see it or not.
This must be so frustrating.
Where I once would fear the cost of truth, now I only ask, what is the cost of lies?
There he is, the man himself. He doesn't look as depressed as Jared Harris played him the whole time, you know?
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, within 5 years, just like Legazov said.
Yeah.
Didn't the actors really look like these characters, like these guys a lot?
Yeah, wow.
I do. Yeah.
Wow. Good casting. "10 years hard labor, and then you just jump right back into it after all that happened."
Yeah, well, in the 10 years, the country changed too. Like,
Look at it, 64 years old. Look what he looked like. It's crazy.
yeah.
Well, I hope they're doing okay in the present if they live in Kiev.
Yeah.
The railway bridge thing I was hearing is a tale.
Yeah.
There's
right.
not official documentation of that, but people
Right.
talk about it, so it's not known if that's literally true.
Didn't know that.
Yeah,
What?
that's a pleasant surprise about those guys, huh?
Yeah.
Did not
That
die.
seems impossible.
Yeah.
Imagine messing up at work so badly that your country dissolves.
Yeah, right.
Also, if your mess up causes a 100-year-long containment plan,
This is horrible to see right there.
Yeah. That's quite a range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess people counting by very different metrics.
yeah. It's the
I
37,
see. Okay.
31.
Ha!
Yeah.
Sure,
Wow.
that seems right.
Yeah. I guess it wasn't that bad of a disaster after all, huh?
Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys.
My God.
Now you've seen Chernobyl.
That series was absolutely stellar.
That was
Yeah. This is incredible.
Yeah, that last episode was amazing in and of itself.
Yeah, it's a great way of, again, like you said, it's almost a too perfect device for them to explain to the audience how this all goes down, you know, having to describe it at a trial to people who don't, you know, aren't experts in the subject matter.
There's a lot of microphones in there. Do we still have that recording? Or does that recording still exist?
I don't know. I don't know to what degree. I don't think that the trial scene is really exactly how it all happened, probably. I would imagine that a lot of it was dramatized for television.
There's a couple of small details in there that made me think that they were going off of some sort of record, like the guy coming in and moving the microphone,
or when he dropped the
when
card.
he dropped the card. Yeah, those things kind of made me feel like maybe they were just going off of a recording that they actually had.
Yeah,
maybe not.
Yeah, they're also just elements of a television show that you include to increase realism.
Yeah,
you know?
Right, yeah. Like, I don't know anything about Russian law, but I imagine that it's not so dissimilar from, like, English and American law that the trial consists of, like, essentially 3 people came up and did a one-man show. Mm-hmm. You know, like, they were intense and, like, giving it as if it were trial information, but I assume that there would be more back and forth.
Yeah, it seemed more like a hearing is like the name that I would give what we seem to watch there, based on our legal system or whatever.
Yeah.
More a hearing than a trial, but I don't know.
I mean, it also seems very unlikely that the government would allow those like the moment the truth came out of his mouth, that they were like, okay, I guess these tapes are all going to get burned immediately. These are never going to see the light of day. Wow. Yeah. You know, this was just as much about the nuclear disaster as it is about the nature of propaganda and the nature of governments. This is not just the Russian government. Governments lie all the time. The American government lies all the time about things. They like to make things out to be less bad than they actually are, or propagandize situations and, you know, make us believe that there's one narrative when there's actually another. I'm generally not, I don't like to, I like to engage with conspiracy theories as a for fun.
Mental exercise.
As a mental exercise.
Yes.
But there's just not one government on this planet that's not guilty of withholding some piece of information that's important, or distorting something, distorting numbers.
It seems to be a feature of human beings operating in these structures with each other. It's something that happens. It's not about any individual person in the system. It seems to just be a feature of those systems that we need to figure, you know, like, that gives more importance to figuring out how to design systems of government and stuff like, and just human organizational structures in a way to counteract these things that we otherwise know are just traits that these systems have. I don't know. I'm speaking in terms that are almost too abstract to make any sense.
Yeah,
but I hope that.
I know what you mean.
Well, you said earlier when we were watching, like, the universe runs on incentives, and so that incentive there of, like, I think we talked about this in like 2 episodes ago, of absorbing the comfortable lie and not having to worry about it, is heavily incentivized, because it means that you aren't responsible, you don't have to take care of the problem, you don't have to deal with any of the fallout.
Literally.
Yeah. But we, like, and inside that system, that operates as a very successful strategy. But then we are currently where we are experiencing events that are the fallout. Like the news the last couple days has been one of the fallouts of the Chernobyl explosion.
Yeah, in a very distant, sort of convoluted way. But absolutely, you're right. You know, like, these things echo on in time, kind of forever. And it's the small lie. It's the childhood thing of, like, Billy, did you eat the cookie? And it's like, no.
It's
like, okay,
better for me if I
cookie?
didn't eat the cookie, so
right,
I'm going to say no. Yeah.
But you did eat the cookie, and there's no cookie anymore where there used to be a cookie, and the cookie's in your tummy.
Well,
so, you know.
But the thing, we can identify the nature of these kind of problems of, like, oh, the world runs on incentives, and these people are incentivized to do the wrong thing, so that's the issue here. But that doesn't then grant us the ability to know how to make a system where the incentives are aligned the right way. You know, like, you can understand what needs to be done and still not have the understanding of how one would do that. You know, how do you create a system of human interaction and responsibility that incentivizes doing the right thing in all cases? It's very hard to think of that.
It's about growing up and being able to accept uncomfortable truths. That we have the similar issue socially in the United States, where we have people who literally believe that the Earth is flat. We have, you know, people who believe that things are hoaxes when they're actually actively happening before our eyes, and the scientific community comes out and they say, look, this is happening, we need to pay attention to this.
My question is, how do you create a structure of incentives where a person who can see something and think this is bad for me individually is still not incentivized to deny the reality of that, you know, because that seems that's always the problem. Nobody wants to operate on things that are bad for them personally.
Well, yeah, there is the bad for them personally, but I think like you give the example of, you know, did you steal the cookie? And no, I didn't. That's there, but I think it's also like, my mom's cookies are the best cookies, and then running into a better cookie. Yeah, the metaphor strains itself a little bit there. Sure. But like, it's not just the personal responsibility of, I fucked up, I should take responsibility for it. It's the truths that allow me to kind of define who I am and where I exist have to be immutable. Otherwise, who the hell am I and what am I doing here?
Well, and it's admitting, if something that I was certain of in the past turns out not to have been true, my credibility going forward is destroyed. So I cannot allow that. You know, like, otherwise, what else that I'm certain about now might turn out not to be true in the future. And now suddenly I can't I don't have any influence on the world around me, and it's so I see what your metaphor's saying.
This is why I don't believe in anything, say anything in absolutes, ever.
100%.
Never say absolutes.
I consider my belief system in general to be very fluid. Once I'm presented with new information, I'm willing to change my belief system, and nothing in my mind is considered to be absolutely factual besides what I can, I don't walk around wondering if I'm gonna fall through the concrete and it's not solid anymore, but I certainly do try to keep myself open to the fact that, like, maybe the narrative that I've been told throughout my life actually isn't really true.
What's the expression of always keep an open mind, but not so open that your brains fall out?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But it's just interesting to see, this was all about Russia. It was all about
the Soviet
Russia.
Union.
The Soviet Union, yes.
As Americans who grew up in the 90s, we conflate those two entities in our minds a lot. So I know all throughout this reaction, we've been referring to the Soviet Union as just Russia, and they're not the same thing.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
I'm sure we've been annoying people.
Yes.
This all took place in Ukraine.
That's
when we say Russia, we're generally meaning the Soviet Union in the context of this show. I'm sorry, that's not correct. I didn't mean to
no, it's okay. I mean, it's a good point. It's a good point. It also shows that, like, I have a little bit of a lack of understanding of the geopolitical situation in that area of the world too. So it's like, I'm taking this kind of at face value. I didn't know anything about this event beforehand, but the nature of a government to try and cover its own ass and be dishonest with not only themselves but their allies about something that is actively happening right now is universal.
Yeah.
It's not just about the Soviets. And I think in the United States, we kind of have this view of the Russian government as having that tendency. Or like, with the COVID situation, like the Chinese government kind of having that tendency, and it's like our government has that tendency too.
Exactly.
All of the Western governments have that tendency too.
I mean, it's particularly the technology that was created throughout the 20th century in terms of information dissemination was just like so unprecedented, and every government that was in power during that time was like, we have these amazing new propaganda tools to get the same message to millions of people at the same time. And so it would be absurd to think that there was any one powerful player during that time period that was like, we're not, you know what, that's probably going to be too risky, we're not going to do that.
Right.
No, everybody, the fun new toys, they're going to try them out, and that is also true of population control via information and propaganda.
Right. Yeah. But I will say also, like, we all are a similar age range, and we kind of grew up. We were coming to our formative time in sort of like the late 90s, early 2000s, when the internet was really starting to blow up, and people's ability to disseminate information outside of the normal channels of propaganda or the regular media that's telling us the narrative that we need to believe in order to sort of all be on the same page about things and believe that there's good guys and bad guys in black and white situations, all got really muddy really fast. So our ability to see kind of behind the curtain of what our government and the people in power love to have us believe about things, I just wonder how this situation would have looked different if anybody who was present at the plant while it was happening could have whipped out their phone and taken a video and been like, exploded core,
or
like
people who were in Pripyat that night could have been filming it at the time, being like, there's a
sending it
blue
around the
laser
world.
going into the sky.
Yeah. The amount of denial when information avenues, it's a bunch of small avenues of information instead of one giant through line that just is the one piece of information that people get, is really powerful.
Definitely.
And it decreases the power of the lies that the mainstream tells us, because it only takes one person to stand up and say the truth.
Well, but conversely, the example I think of is 9/11, where we have multiple angles footage of the disaster taking place, and the availability of that footage has actually muddied the truth because people watch it and think that it contradicts the story that they were told, and so that, it's... So I see what you're saying, but I also wonder if it can go the other way. If sometimes the abundance of footage of a disaster will let everyone sort of experience it themselves and interpret it through their own lens. And it's, I mean,
I think there's I don't know that it necessarily diminishes the amount of lie. Like it just spreads it out. Like there is
smaller ones. Yeah, I see.
Or I mean, another example would be the Kennedy assassination, which is on film, and yet people watch that and don't agree about what's happening in the movie. You know, I think that it's sort of what you were saying earlier. This is an intrinsic thing to humans that there's not really any element you're going to be able to get in. Feel like, well, that would take care of it. You know?
That's
people are going to.
It's just kind of like been how we've been for the entirety of our existence.
When it comes down to it, the past is just a story, and so you can shape the story. It's it really was one way or the other, but there's no way to verify it.
Which is true. Honestly kind of the viewpoint of the KGB head, who's
I'm not really saying that as like my worldview. I'm sort of putting it out as what the people are operating under. It's the truth you have in your head when you're moving through the world that way.
The amount of taking things at face value that you have to do in order to just get out of bed and do things in the morning, do you live your regular life is actually pretty staggering. Like I have events in history that I factually know in my heart that they happened, but I don't have any evidence that they happened.
Exactly,
you know what I mean? So it is very interesting. This was a very interesting look at it wasn't just, I loved how they made it not just about the disaster alone. It was also about the politics around it and kind of how it was addressed in a way it's mirrored now. We've learned nothing. That's the unfortunate thing about this.
Time is a flat circle.
It sure is.
And I mean, I think doing it this way really justified the existence of it as a dramatic miniseries instead of as a documentary to tell you about the Chernobyl disaster. You needed to have themes that were greater than the events of the disaster in order for it, to do it this way. And I think they did it well.
I think so too.
And to place yourself there. Right? Because we see, we've been witness to, not personally, but in the events unfolding of disasters that have had massive sweeping effects on the world. But it's almost like, I don't know, I think, obviously, by us watching it, we have a far more objective view on those events than what Legasov or anybody else who was in there was thinking about them. Even if they took the time to sit and think about I am here at this moment in history, right? Just by being in it, there are assumptions and things that they have that color how they think about things. And so being able to be on the outside and have that documentary view, but then also the inside view gives you that thought of oh yeah, I don't know, where is it? It's the idea of I am not immune to propaganda.
Right, yeah. It's for sure. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I wonder when we are 80, how many people are going to be claiming that COVID just didn't happen. That it was never a world event, that nobody died from it. I mean, there are people saying that now. But
I admire your optimism.
that we'll all make it to 80 years old?
Yeah.
Back in the before 4 times.
That's right,
But yeah, no, I would say that we'll probably... I don't know. I think we might actually have fewer people who are claiming that it is a hoax at that time.
Yeah, maybe.
Because it's hard to deny the evidence of what's happening in front of you takes, passion.
Yeah, that's true.
And then to deny the evidence of historical events also takes passion, and that passion diminishes the farther away it is from your daily life.
Yep.
Let me ask you this, guys. What do you think people in 1922 could have predicted accurately about people in 1970? Because this is what we're doing here.
Yeah, that's true.
Fair enough.
After just talking for 10 minutes about how nothing ever changes, and it's well, no, not quite, Yeah. Anyway.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. This has been an intense miniseries. I know that our tone has sort of not always jived with how serious it is, but I appreciate you sticking with us and watching.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. Yeah, we're pretty generally like lighthearted people, and sometimes when we're faced with something super intense, we kind of gotta laugh so we don't cry about it. But this was very eye-opening. I was internally taking it very seriously, even though I was maybe making some funnies during it. I don't think it's a funny situation. I think it's entertainment because it's a TV show.
Yes,
and that is
exactly.
as far as that goes. I understand that this is a very serious situation.
For sure.
And hopefully it will never ever be repeated again.
Yes. Hopefully we have learned at least that.
Knock on wood over here.
And I think that's compressed sawdust.
Oh god,
But yeah, thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys. I'm Nate.
I'm Sean.
I'm Lewis.
And this is Catch Up Packets.